Yeah, Dave on guitar. Dave plays with Liars on Fire, a local Halifax band. Thanks for coming, Dave. Welcome. Thank you everybody for coming. It's great to see so many people here. Before we begin, I wanted to pass over to Chief Terry Paul from Member 2 Community. He's in his 29th year as chief and would like to be known as a hard-working community leader, he said. He's flown in tonight especially for this, so it's great to have him with us. It feels proper and right to me that the First Nations of Nova Scotia are the first voice that gets heard as we enter into this engagement process. So, Chief Terry Paul, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for that kind introduction, Tim. To all those gathered here this evening, thank you for coming out. I am honored to have this opportunity to offer my thoughts and insights this evening as the first in a series of consultation sessions that begin on the proposed new Nova Centre. An abiding tradition of my people, the Mi'kmaq of Nova Scotia, is their commitment to consultation. We view consultation as a means to achieve a deeper understanding of each other's perspectives and to find a path forward that best reflects collective wisdom that enshrines our traditions as a people and that ensures the decisions we enter into and processes we launch are the best they possibly can be. And so this evening, as Rank Incorporated launches this important round of consultations on the proposed new Nova Centre, it is fitting that we commence with a moment of reflection. To do so allows us to consider both the significance of the task at hand and the earnest desire for success in the potential these meetings offer in helping inform the way forward on this important development. Opportunities, such as the one before us, to build a place where culture and commerce will meet, where business leaders, political leaders, and the community will gather, and where we can celebrate the industriousness and the resourcefulness of our citizens, do not come every day. This development, in particular, is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. And so, when these opportunities do present themselves, it is important that we reflect on them and that we engage as many voices and as much collective wisdom as possible to help inform the way forward. When we bring the community together to share our ideas and insights and to listen to each other as we are this evening, it is a sacred undertaking. In the tradition of the Mi'kmaq, it is an undertaking that, above all, accepts the power and the diversity that exists within our community and ensures that this diversity of thought and ideas is treated with dignity and respect. Ultimately, amongst my people, and indeed here this evening, how we join together and relate to each other is a reflection of who we are as a community. Within this place we share and we call home. And so this evening, the purpose of this first event is to hear and honor the full range of opinions and ideas of those gathered here tonight. Just as the project is a building process, what we are about to embark on this evening is also a building process. It is a process that will ensure the project that eventually is built is constructed on a solid foundation, that it will be strong, that it will be supported, and that its vision will be integral to the project's ultimate success. In opening tonight's event, I want to wish the organizers, and indeed all the participants, a successful evening. In my mind, our success this evening will be measured as it is in the deliberations that we undertake in my community of Member 2 and with my Mi'kmaq brothers and sisters, through offering constructive insights, through careful listening and reflection on what we are hearing, and through the acceptance of all insights with the dignity and respect that they deserve. It is my very best wishes for a constructive and successful evening. Walalio. Thank you.
Thank you. So, we're underway. Just in case anybody doesn't know what's going on and they just came in off the street because there was good music playing, I had some ladies outside as I was walking down the street to start today, and I didn't know they were from around. They said, "Oh, we're doing a community event tonight. You know, would you like to come?" And it turns out they were tourists in for the day, and they were like, "Well, there'll be free food." And I was like, "I don't think there will be." She's like, "Well, you'd get more people if you had free food." And she's probably right. So the purpose here, there's a large building going in a couple of blocks away, and building excavation is beginning on the site very soon, and building will be beginning next spring. And so the purpose of this is to begin and kick off public engagement, so it can start to inform how that building shapes up right in the center of the downtown of Halifax. And I was kind of nervous this weekend coming into this event. And I don't know how the experience of this is for you and your circle of friends, but like, I've got friends who think I've sold out by taking this job. And I've got friends who think that this is the best piece of work I've ever done. And I've got friends who just don't care that I'm doing this job. You know, I've got friends who've refused to come tonight. And I've got friends who canceled things to be here. I'm getting emails into my little personal email from people all over the province saying a couple of things. One, like literally 3-page emails giving me their vision for this building downtown. Very detailed. A senior man who can't make any of the events sent through these big emails. Someone else emailing me, telling me the whole thing's a sham. Like, I don't know what's going on, but there definitely feels to me like there's something to talk about. Definitely feels to me like there's conversations to be had among us as citizens of this city, as citizens of Nova Scotia. I can't ignore this one even if I try. So that's it. This is the invitation to get into it today. And the purpose of today is about understanding the landscape. What is the range of opinion and perspective that exists here in the city before we begin to dive into the engagements that start next Thursday? It's almost like let's see the terrain before we walk the path. That's the purpose of this evening, and that just feels like common sense to me. Understand the context before you leap in. Look at the pool before you jump in the water. You don't know how deep or shallow it is. It's like, and if we can have an understanding of what the range and perspectives and opinions are across this community, we have a stronger foundation with which to move forward. So the questions tonight are around, what's the legacy and lineage of this conversation that's in the city already? What have we gone through to get to this point now where we're engaging the public? Where are we at? What feels important to say before we dive in and start working around this Thursday? This Thursday we're gathering around the look and feel of the of the building that's going in, of the Nova Centre. So what tone do we want this building to strike right in the heart of our city? How do we want it to interact with the cityscape? How do we want it to meet the street? What are some basic guiding principles we can offer to the architect and the developer that could inform how we move forward? Over the summer, we're engaging across the province. There's 5 different engagements happening all over the province, which are really about how can a development that's going right in the heart of the city have positive impact across Nova Scotia. If we're bringing people in, if thousands of people are coming from all over the world to these large events, how do they come into the convention centre and then go out across the province? What does that look like? So we're going to go and engage across the province and ask people, what would make most sense to you? You know your communities better than we do. How could this place have benefit for you too? And then we come back, October 3rd, we're engaging around the streetscape. What is it that we would like to see around the building on Argyle and Grafton? October 21st, we're looking at the public space inside the building. How would we like that public space to work? How would we interact with it? How do we want it to function? What would we like to see in there? And then November 24th, we're engaging around the convention centre itself. And then finally in December, there'll be a final kind of, here's the summary of where we're at, here's what's come up out of the public engagement, and this is how it's been integrated into the building. So fundamentally, as Tim, Mary, I don't know whether this building is right or wrong. I don't know. But I know that it's happening. I know that it's going ahead. And we have an opportunity to influence it. Whether it's going ahead, whether we like it or not. And I hope there's a whole range of opinion in this room. That's my greatest aspiration for tonight, that we get to hear a full range of perspectives here. All right? But I know, in fact, my work is about not buying into the right and wrong. My work is about creating the conditions for many, many, often conflicting perspectives to come together. So we can start seeing patterns across public voice that can give some guidance to where we go from here. Check my notes. So I think it's probably worth saying some people feel like the amount of influence we're getting on this building isn't enough. Some people feel the influence we're getting is beyond their expectations. That's true. All this stuff is out there. It's happening. These are the conversations we're talking about. The purpose of these consultations is to surface public opinion so it can influence the development in the areas that I just talked about, and so the information we gather here can go back out into the public realm in such a way that it informs public debate. I really liked what you said about how we turn up here as a reflection of who we are. Like how we turn up in this room, how we turn up in these public engagements is a reflection of who we are. It's a reflection of our people. It's a reflection of our place. The dignity that we turn up with, the open-mindedness that we turn up with, the passion that we turn up with, the fervor that we turn up with is a reflection of who we are. So I invite you to turn up here and listen to your neighbors. You know, my Halifax, the place that I want my kids to grow up in, is a place where multiple diverse cultures and perspectives can be together without being at each other's throats. That they can be together, they can listen to each other, and they can learn from each other. That's the world I want to be in. That's the world I want my kids to be in. That's why I moved here from England, because I felt that possibility was here, whereas it was disappearing in my home country. So it's a real invitation to do that tonight. Yeah. Lots of notes, huh? Great. So just to reiterate, the purpose here is to understand the landscape. Where are we at? What is the range of perspective and opinion that we have within this city? What is the legacy of the conversation that we've picked up? I'm going to pass it over to my friend and colleague Sarah Thompson, who's going to introduce the process to you that we're going to use tonight to have people speak, and then we'll get right into it.
Thank you, Tim. So our public engagement collective has been involved in several public engagements in the past, and we've often used a World Cafe format, which will be the same format that we'll be using for the remainder of the events. And so that's what we find to be a very powerful format to having people sitting together in conversations, answering a question together, and really surfacing the patterns, the weight, and often insights that no one person could have come to alone. But we've also gotten the feedback that it can be very frustrating, especially when there is a divisive issue, especially when there are people who really feel like they have something that they need to say and they feel that it gets kind of muted over by having to agree at their table. And so this event really came in response to that feedback, and with the sense that this is a hot issue in our city. There are people who think that this is a fundamental tipping point in the vitality of the downtown, and people who think that it's a misguided idea. And so it felt really false to just immediately jump into the specific questions around the 4 areas that Tim defined, but to really have an open space and maybe even just ideas that we wouldn't ever even have thought of. So it's a totally open question. Where are you at with the Nova Centre? What do you think? And yeah, before I get into defining the process, Tim's just going to very quickly introduce the people in the room who are at the heart of the process.
Or they can introduce themselves. So there's various people in this room that are directly tied into the project. I would just invite you to stand so we can see who's here that's directly tied in either to the Nova Centre or the engagement process. Thank you, Joe. How you doing? Good. Lovely. All right. So the decision makers around this project are in the room as well, right? But the invitation is not to speak to them. The invitation is to speak into this center and to speak into this community. Whoever we are here, we're all citizens of this city.
So it's really simple. For the next hour and a half, as much as people are ready to come forward, we'll have about 30 speakers. Each of you will have 3 minutes. Yeah, if there's a lot more than 30, or depending if there's little gaps and we run over, we may have to cut it off at 25. And there's 4 principles that will really guide the way that it works. So the first is we really encourage you to get to the heart of the matter. Like 3 minutes isn't very long, you'll see, and so we don't need a lot of context, just really share what matters to you. The second is to be civil. It's been mentioned several times, but that doesn't mean you can't be passionate, and that doesn't mean you can't be angry, that doesn't mean you can't swear, but don't swear at anyone. And we just won't tolerate kind of verbal abuse in this room. Yeah? So if you're angry, be angry at the middle of the room, but don't be aggressive towards someone in this room. The third is to be timely. So I'm going to tell you how this works in a minute, but the more that people come up to the mic when it's their turn, the more everyone will have a chance to speak. And the last is, again, it's already been said, but listen with an open mind, listen to learn. Maybe you'll be surprised by something, and that would be wonderful if we could learn from each other tonight. Okay, so in just a minute, I have some runners who are going to come into the aisle, and people that are ready to speak. We're going to have 3 rounds of 10 speakers. So part of the reason that we want to do that, I don't know if you've ever listened to people speak for an hour and a half straight, but we tend to lose focus. So just a little pause, a little moment to refresh in the middle, but also because maybe we'll hear something in the first round that will inspire something that's not here now. So we'll kind of allow the conversation to build on itself a little bit. So we're going to just first pick the first 10 people, and you're going to receive a number between 1 and 10, and when if you get number 1, as soon as we start, you're just going to invite you to come stand right up here. As soon as number 1 is here, I would love to invite number 2 to come sit in this chair. Each speaker will be invited to say their number, their name, and begin. After you say your name and you begin to speak, our sound person over here, whose name I've already, Nick, will put on a timer for 3 minutes, and at 3 minutes, he will cut the sound. Rachel Dare will be sitting across from all the speakers, and she'll give you a 1-minute warning and a 30-second warning. So you'll have opportunity to see what's happening, but then we really will ask you to finish at 3 minutes so that as many people as possible can have a chance to speak.
The 3 minutes came from some friends of mine who've been doing large-scale conversations with citizens in Athens, in Sigmata Square. And they were working around 3 minutes as the time for speaking there. And from their experiments, that was optimal in terms of space enough to speak from the heart and head, but not so long that people lost track of you. So that's where the 3 minutes comes from.
So if you would like, so really the question is, what do you have to say about the Nova Center? Where are you at? And anyone who would like to speak, please raise your hand. It looks like maybe we don't quite have 10 yet, so we'll just begin. And if the runners can just keep looking, if people, and maybe this is a little tough. Is it okay? Karen, are you good? Maybe do you guys want to give your numbers to Karen? So if you realize that you have something to say, and as you're here at the beginning, just raise your hand and Karen will bring you a number. Yeah, but please, if you haven't, raise your hand, yeah. All right, let's begin.
Hello, my name is Owen Brush, and I suppose my thoughts on this is that any project of this scale needs to benefit the public good, and I think that that is what it intends to do, and there's a lot of government funding going towards the project, making that even more obvious and important that it should directly benefit the public. And my concern is that there's a lot of needs that the public has and has had for a long time in the city, such as affordable housing, spaces for nonprofit organizations, appropriate spaces. I know the Mi'kmaq Center, for instance, it's falling apart and they need new space. And drop-in centers, clinics, et cetera, et cetera. And these are all things that could benefit a great deal from all of the empty and boarded up and fenced off space that we find everywhere downtown. So I think that the people who own that space, who are receiving money from our government and are taking on huge public projects, really owe it to the community to help some of these needs be addressed. And that's all for now.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hannes. I just wanted to share a little bit of a story about myself because I think it's kind of reflective of who I stand for and the community I perhaps represent. I'm originally from Germany, Munich. I grew up outside of Munich, so kind of in a rural area. I then moved into Munich. From Munich, I moved to Vancouver. From Vancouver, I moved back to Europe and then to Barcelona. From Barcelona, I moved to Wolfville, Nova Scotia, studied at Acadia University. And from Acadia, I went to Halifax, where I then did an MBA at Dalhousie University. And now I live and work in Halifax for a small clean tech startup company. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I truly believe in the future of Halifax, it belonging to a young community, in particular a young community. I've heard a lot of voices in the news and just by conversation that are very almost negative about the future of Halifax, and I've gotten kind of tired of hearing that. And coming out to these meetings is becoming more and more important for me, and speaking out is becoming more and more important to me. Kind of representing the voice of the young people I find is extremely important. This development represents the future of Halifax. It's going to be one of the largest developments Halifax is going to see in its generation, and I think it's really important that people realize that this development is not only for the current generation, but for the future generations. It needs to be taken into consideration that, we've seen buildings like the Bell Line building, which don't look very modern anymore. So for instance, it would be very important to see how we can incorporate design in the downtown that is attractive for future generations. How can we be made more attractive for families to live downtown? If I'm thinking about living in Halifax for a longer period of time, I want to settle downtown. From the downtown, you can get into nature very easily, so I think it's very attractive for people to live downtown, but right now, it's not affordable for a young person to do that. So in the future, I'd have to move outside of the city. I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of culture here. There's a lot of young people here who are really hoping to stay in the city, who want to find a job here, and a lot of things are connected to the Nova Centre because it's going to create new momentum and excitement. So in a sense, I'm really hoping that this development is going to go forward in a positive sense. In whatever shape or form, but I'm also really hoping that a lot of young people are going to be involved in it and they're going to find a home in this place, be it working, living, having fun in the place, seeing arts happen. It's going to be at the heart of our city, so I really want to see young people being a big part in this development. Thanks.
And maybe if I could just ask that we don't clap after each speaker, because otherwise there may start to feel like there's a value judgment. And let's just keep the silence and just move from speaker to speaker.
I'm going to feel so rejected now. Well, I'm number 3, and that's my lucky number. I can't believe how nervous I am. I'm Andre Gracie, and I'm in the arts community in the event management business. My husband is John Gracie, a singer, and I'm a mother of 2 adult children. They're 22 and 20. And it's perfect segue from the last speaker because I worked in the convention business early on in my career in the 20s, and I'm really passionate and emotional tonight about this project. I had a meeting this afternoon with a young African Nova Scotian entrepreneur, 24 years old, who has a campaign that's called Be Awesome. And his goal is to stay in Halifax, and he wants to be in a city that's awesome. And I thought it was really kind of neat that I was coming here tonight after meeting with him. I'm working a lot lately, nice to see you, Chief Paul, with the Mi'kmaq community. I think that it's important for the Nova Centre to be inclusive. I'd like to see us look at the past and the present and the future, something that's inclusive and has art from the Mi'kmaq community and that shows that we are a part of Mi'kmaqi. I'd like it to be welcoming to youth and new Canadians. I think that it's important that we look to the future, and when we design this building, that it has the ability to go forward with new technologies and new plans. I'd love to see urban gardens. I'd like to see a piazza or a town center where they can be arts and culture. And I'll never forget when I managed the powwow on the Halifax Common, and we had 80,000 people celebrating Mi'kmaq culture. Mi'kmaq said afterwards, after that event, Halifax saw Mi'kmaq and people walked proudly afterwards. I think we need a project like this so that we can be proud of a cool urban center that Halifax is. I am tired. I listen to all the talk shows and I'm kind of tired of the negativity, so I echo what you just said. I want to live in a place that's positive and growing and that is a home and can support, and I can keep my 22 and 20-year-olds here. Just quickly looking at my notes before I run out of time here. As you say, I'm nervous here. I want to see boutiques and restaurants. I want to host international and national events that create pride of place and instigate, and a good point on giving back. I think if we had this economic development, people will want to give back to those that are less fortunate. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. I am here to work and make this city a better place. Thank you.
I'm number 4, and my name is Dave Fultz, and I'm here tonight. Well, mainly, I married my wife Rachel, because of her involvement in community engagement and public engagement, and just like the passion that she has for that. It's not the only thing, but that really gave me a lot better idea of how to work with people and how to understand the city that I live in. Because up until a couple years ago, I was angry with everything that was happening, and I didn't really have any way to feel like I was a part of anything that was going on, except for what I did with my friends, like playing music and things like that. And I guess just like for this center, again, like I don't agree with a lot of development, and that's just me. There's a lot of things that could happen in the city, but when it does happen, I really enjoy having the opportunity to influence even a little bit of it, because when we can create those spaces together and have places that people will enjoy within the buildings that are going up and within the spaces that are downtown, if people start to gather around those things that they've built together, those are the kind of developments that will happen more and more often, because people will see that's where the people are, and where the people are, the money is, and that's kind of that's one thing that I'm excited about. And the other thing too is has a lot to do with the Mi'kmaq Center and the like after school programs for youth that could be downtown and really accessible and really fun and part of like a whole community where, if you're just sitting outside and you have people doing like a music program, after school music program, or arts program, or any kind of like basketball courts and sports programs, just all within the heart of the city, so that kids see culture, and the people downtown see kids, and there's just I feel like there's a lot more community when all types of people can be in the same space, because everyone sees how amazing and different everybody is. I think that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, I'm Mary Dempster, and I've been in tourism in this city for 25 years. And I remember when the Trade Center was built, the convention center was built, and remember the weather vane going up, and how proud we were as a city to see the architect of that weather vane. And even back then, the Trade Center was chic and new, and it's kind of old now. But back then, it was a big deal. But just as importantly, I remember when the Sheraton Halifax came to town, and we built that building, and it was amazing to see how excited everybody was to see something in downtown moving, looking new, getting better. I was lucky enough to be amongst the 3,000 people who got a job there. And what I really remember was when we were building the hotel, and the hotel was just a hole, and we were all walking around in hard hats and trying to, tell our vision of what this hotel was going to look like. The idea was that every man, woman, and child, and I mean this, every man, woman, and child in Halifax knew that we were building this beautiful hotel in downtown. And it was absolutely phenomenal to me that after we opened the doors in 1985, we actually did tours of that building. 5 tours a day for 4 months. We toured people through that building. Now, we've all been down to the Halifax Marriott, which is what the Sheraton was, and it wasn't, by today's standards, it was, just a building. But that's how excited this city was. And I'm hoping that we're going to be just as excited to see the Nova Center, and to you're going to have to put tours on. I just need you to know that. That's a little bit of advice, just from experience. We didn't do that when we opened, and it really hurt us at first, but you'll have to do tours for sure. So I'm really excited about the project. I think it's exciting. And I did want to correct a little something, and that was about government money. And I have heard this over and over on talk shows and so on. There is no government money in this project, and I can't say that enough. The only government money that will come to this project is because one of the government agencies is going to lease some space. But this is an entrepreneurial project, and I think it's important that everybody knows that. And if there's any question to that, that we get it addressed really quickly, because that idea has to stop. We are not, the idea of our downtown being built by the government is just not true. That's not what's happening. This is being done by an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Number 6 is coming in from online. We're live streaming across the province, and there's a post that Craig wanted to share.
Okay, I'm going to try to see if Keith has, there's one of our chat room users named Keith, 8310 specifically, and I'll see if he has anything else to say other than what we have of his first sentence or so just one moment here. All right, so Keith, this is verbatim. Hi, my name is Keith, resident of Halifax. My question is if this new Nova Center will have an underground walkway as the current convention center has one. They are connected to the other buildings. And that's what we have so far from Keith. And Keith, you can hear me and see me now, so do you have anything else to say? Keith. Okay, I think that's what we have from Keith. No, that's it. He says, no, nothing else for now, so.
All right, it's number 7 around. So 6 people have come forward to speak. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to wait till the last minute to get ready. My name is Brooks Diamond. I'm in the entertainment business, and I've come tonight to speak to the naysayers. I have something of a message for them. I hope some are in this room or some are watching. We have been living in a city that has been going through a long spell of negativity and slippage, decline. It's been particularly true in my business. I've actually been in Los Angeles in a major agent's office who told me that he wasn't interested in letting his acts come to this city, if you can believe that. I'd had a bad experience here through an extreme outbreak of negativity that has been, as I say, in the system. It didn't always used to be like that, and it certainly isn't going, I'm sure is not going to continue that way, or I certainly hope not. And I think that this project we've got coming gives us an enormous opportunity to get out of that, and to fill up our downtown, to show the world that we really can do something very special, and that's what this project does represent. The decision has been made that this center is going to be built, and for those people who don't feel it's a good idea, I would like to encourage them to realize that in fact it's not going to help to keep carping about this or keep, I shouldn't say carping perhaps, but keep putting those kinds of positions forward. And I'd like to encourage them to start thinking about how they could start contributing some positivity to the situation, because that is what we need. We need positivity. We need to be able to show the world and show ourselves, perhaps even more important, that we can get together, we can unite, and we can support something. That's mainly what I want to say, and I'll let it go at that. Give us your creativity and tell us your ideas. Rank has been good enough to give us these opportunities, and they're going to continue for the near future. So change your attitude and your approach and jump in here and help us out. Thank you.
My name's Alan Ruffman. I am about the same age as Brooks, and I'm on the other side of your fence, I think, Brooks, and have been for some time. I would like to point out where I think a lot of the unease has come from. In effect, this development was approved, or the extra height for this development was approved at the very last moment of a process called Halifax by Design. Halifax by Design was set up to, in fact, remove public input for a good part of the downtown because it was going to be set up with design criteria that would allow development to go ahead. The last moment, really, literally, virtually within the last 2 to 3 weeks, suddenly this particular double block got extra height, and got extra height to facilitate this development. And a number of people, I think, felt very strongly, and I'm one of them, that this was an inappropriate time to spring this on people. We had little to say about it. The council approved it with a very high majority, and it's now law. But what I'd like to put forward, and I'm going to suggest this, we've been told there's several things we can't affect. Height is one of them. The fact there'll be a convention center in the basement is one of them. But what we have realized from the time of the announcement of the Neptune Theatre is that the number of towers and maybe the orientation where they're going to be located is all somewhat fluid. And I take some, and this is one reason I showed up tonight, is that you were allowing people to speak. And I'm going to put forward a suggestion that the developer and his designers look very hard at trying to get the density they need by, in fact, reducing the height of the towers and, in fact, attempting to perhaps even fit under the Halifax by Design criteria that would have been on this block in the first place. If you get there, you're going to make a lot of people like me, I think, less than skeptical. So that's one of my suggestions. The other is I'm very uneasy about cafe style type of consultation. I went to, I think, 2 of the items with respect to the library. Mr. Murray and I just had, when you stuck your sticky on the board, you had no idea where it went. You never saw it reappear again. You had no idea whether it influenced it. Here, I don't know whether you plan to make transcripts of what people said, but I hope you are able to respond to what people said. And what I do sense is you have some opportunity to, with the input that comes, to affect the design so it doesn't look like a lot of other convention centers, Toronto being one, where there's no windows, locked doors when you go to every door, and you're kind of, how the fuck do I get into this thing? I had to go across the hotel and come across the pedway. Thank you very much. This should be an accessible building. It should look accessible. It needs windows, and it needs ways for people to feel that it's part of their city. Thanks.
My name is Janaea McMillan. I am the immediate past president of an association called Meeting Professionals International. And I just wanted to voice my opinion and my support of the overall project. Part of it, a specific part of it, the convention center. I know we have 70 plus members in our association that directly benefit from the spin-off and from what this type of a project can bring to our city. And I know for me, it's the basis of my livelihood. So without the support of this industry in this city, I do have to look elsewhere. And before the announcement of this project, that was one of my considerations. So I'm very excited, I'm very supportive, very happy that we're looking at moving in this direction, and I look forward to everything that this is going to bring to the city. Thank you.
So yeah, I think let's just start again. Anyone who's...
I love it. I love it that we're bringing in the online voice. Thank you.
Okay, we have another one here from online, and I'll try to keep it on the go. Again, just straight verbatim. Hello, my name is Jennifer. I've worked in tourism and event planning for over 10 years. As a transplant from Ottawa 7 years ago, I have grown to love this city. One thing I've noticed is the incredible opposition to change and growth for Halifax. Halifax needs to grow. In order to succeed long term, we need to create some sustainability by having new events that can breathe new life into the city. Fighting for bigger, great concerts with other cities is one option, but a truly amazing convention center will provide great opportunity for this. I'm in favor of the construction of a new state-of-the-art convention center that brings great events to the city. However, I have concern that the rental prices will make the space inaccessible to rent from smaller groups. At this time, there are few rental spaces in the city suitable for large events at a reasonable price. This creates a number of obstacles with event planning. I would like to suggest to the developers to work with the TCLNS, who will be managing the rentals, to create a better tiered structure for charities and nonprofits versus corporations doing private events. Versus corporations doing private events with larger pockets. Otherwise, we will never see the birth and growth of independent events. These are crucial for the community, and I hope to see greater community support. That's it.
Thank you. So let's just start on another round and see how we do. If the runners could come back into the aisles with their numbers, and everyone who'd like to speak, please raise your hand. And number one can just go ahead and come up to the mic.
Hi, my name's David Fleming. I'm an economist with the Greater Halifax Partnership, but I promise I brought two hats tonight because no one wants to listen to an economist for 3 minutes. First, from my professional side, I bring our support for this project. As a huge part of our economic strategy is our regional center goal. This is a massive undertaking, something that brings huge number of construction jobs. It brings retail, restaurants, and a lot of buzz around the downtown, something that's been required for a long time. But personally, as a Haligonian who was here, left for a while, came back recently, I remember when I was about 10 years old, I used to take the Dartmouth ferry. I used to sneak on and come across and walk the streets to visit my dad who worked downtown. And my parents hated that, but one of the things I remembered is walking through downtown Halifax at that time. You felt like you were walking among giants. The buildings were huge. They were relatively new. Things seemed a lot more, there was a lot more pomp and circumstance around it. I think we're starting to go back down that road again. And as someone who lives about 6 blocks away from this, and who works about 8 blocks away from this development, it's nice to feel like we're walking among giants again. It's nice to feel like Halifax is developing again. That walls aren't falling down anymore, that people are putting them back up again. You look at RBC Waterside, you look at the TD development, and you look at some of the residential developments, Park Vic, I live right close to that, and it's a modern looking space. It gives, like Hannah said, this feeling that Halifax is a city for young professionals, it's a city for young people, it has energy. I think that's good for a lot of our other goals that we're looking to achieve, population growth, and retaining young people. These kinds of projects, I think, are the types of things that build that kind of buzz, that build that type of confidence. And so from a professional side, the Greater Halifax Partnership supports this. From a personal side and from a kid who used to walk these streets, I support this. I'm really happy to see it happen. And I do hope in the planning that some of the public space is accessible, that a lot of people are able to use this. A convention center is not something that typically your average citizen would be in and out of on a regular basis, but let's find ways to still create a place where the rest of the public looks to be as well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul McKinnon. I'm with the Downtown Halifax Business Commission. I guess I'm on the pro-sayer side, and I'm actually trying to copyright that term and get a royalty, so I encourage you to use it. But no, I've been a supporter of the convention center, a new convention center, for a long time. I kind of inherited that 10 years ago when I came to the Business Commission. It was one of our top priorities then, and has remained so. And I think, like a lot of other people, I haven't changed my mind about this project, either for or against, in the past couple of years. So certainly I'm gratified that we look like we're at a stage where we're moving forward. Having said that, I think that we're coming into now the critical phase. I mean, how this building does work and what the economic impact is or isn't is something I know that we'll evaluate, you know, in years to come, and one side or the other will get to say, I told you so. But in the meantime, the thing that we know that will impact all of us, especially those in the downtown, is the look and feel of this building. And I don't think that can be underestimated. And one of the fears I think that we have in Halifax around tall buildings is the fact that we simply haven't done any good ones from top to bottom. You know, there's certain buildings that you feel good about when you walk by. And traditionally, you know, historic buildings, typically you feel good when you walk by them because they're built of such a scale and such an openness that they embrace you. We do have a bit of that with modern buildings. I think about Bishop's Landing, for instance. Even the new Vic, which I wasn't a huge fan of the demolition of the old building that was there, but the new Vic building I think is pretty interesting and a great addition to the downtown. So this will be the first time in more than 20 years that we'll have a building that's of significant scale right in the heart of our downtown on these very small historic city blocks. It's a real challenge to make that building work the way that it should work. And yet, you know, we haven't had the chance to try something like this in the past 20 years because we've been sending our business and doing our development outside of downtown, and I only have 3 minutes, so I won't get into a spiel about that, but there's reasons for that, and I think that we need to rein that back in. But I think this is a great opportunity. I think the public consultation is important. I don't know that we can necessarily design a building by public consent. I think it's important to get those ideas, and I don't know that any one person has all the ideas about that building, but I would certainly encourage people to participate, and especially the professional community. I think that, you know, we have some really good architects in the city. Some of them are in this room tonight. And I know that you haven't necessarily been contracted to do this work, but if we do this building really well, it can be a real hallmark for downtown. It can set the way for future development, and hopefully, you know, as the market, you know, corrects itself for downtown, we have new opportunities. You know, we should be able to point to this building and say, this is one that we did right, and that's the tall building that we want to emulate when we do tall buildings. And HRM by Design has set out height parameters, and we'll be doing mid-scale and low-scale and high-rise in the future. So my 30 seconds are up, and I'll give my 10 seconds to Frank when he comes up, because it'll be hard for him to stay under 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Fred Connors. I'm holding number 3. I think whether or not you support this project, every single person in Halifax is absolutely desperate to see symbols of progress in the city. And I think that a lot of people are hoping that this building is going to be that symbol of progress that we are starving for. If it's built right and people actually want to be in it, not just people who are going to conventions, we will know that it was done the way it should be. But I have a quick little story to tell, because 8.5 years ago I bought a building in the North End, which was the former Bank of Nova Scotia building, with the idea of turning it into a very glamorous hair salon and cafe, and everybody told me that that wouldn't work, that nobody in the community wanted a glamorous hair salon and a cafe. I had people advocating for homelessness telling me, or advocating against homelessness, telling me that it needed to be a homeless shelter, the building I bought. I had people telling me it needed to be a community center. I had people telling me it needed to be a center for the arts. It needed to be anything but a hair salon and an expensive cafe. And I was determined to make this hair salon and expensive cafe in a neighborhood where everybody thought it was not going to work. And I did so by listening to the people who live in that community. What is it you want in your community? And how can I take my vision to have an expensive hair salon and a cafe in a neighborhood where people think nothing expensive is ever going to work, and how can I make it work? And we decided that we would make it work by listening to what people felt they needed in their community. You need an art space? We're going to give you an art space. You need a place for people to gather? We are going to give you a place for people to gather. We need a place to feed kids in this community? We're going to feed those kids. And so we listened to what the community needed, what would allow us, a glamorous and expensive hair salon and cafe, to work in the North End where we weren't supposed to be able to work. 8 years later, we continue to work, we continue to listen to the community, and we continue to be happy that we made that our home, in spite of all of the people who said we would never be successful, that the community would never accept us, and that an expensive hair salon and cafe was the last thing they needed in the North End. I'm here to tell you that they were wrong, because it was what the North End needed the most. so that we could have more progress happening in that community so that it has been able to become the community it is today. So progress is good. We are terrified of it. We see it as a risk. We are change adverse here, but a little progress is a good thing. That's all I have to say.
I was going to start by saying, despite your friends in Athens, I find the 3 minutes leads a little bit to people saying what's at the top of their minds, but in a way it lacks a kind of depth and maybe not passion, but depth in terms of really understanding why some of these things are being said. So that's just to kind of excuse my taking the few seconds from Paul. It seems to me that what I'd like to do is basically raise the level of ambition relative to this project. It's not that new is necessarily better than old. It's not that bigger is necessarily progress as opposed to smaller and human and all of those sorts of qualities. Both of those things are dependent. What I'd like to do is raise the level that says what it is that we need to do is work forward from where we are right now in a way which is creative, because we think of ourselves as being a kind of creative community, in a way which sees new possibilities in this project, possibilities that haven't been imagined yet. And I'd like to suggest that that should happen in 3 ways. That the first way it should happen is through the process itself. I'm not convinced that the process which opens things up and asks everybody, you know, what it is that they think, and then somebody goes in a back room somewhere and selects, you know, the pieces that they like and put it together in some way is the right process. I would challenge you to actually develop a process which is much more open and much more collaborative and much more creative and much more inventive all through this process, as opposed to these kind of small windows that are open over a long period of time, which I think for people like me will simply lead to frustration. That's one. The second is about program. What? The second is about program. It seems to me on the program side that some people have kind of alluded to it already. So long as we keep thinking about this project under this kind of banner of, you know, convention center, and we have an image of convention center as being the thing that's done in Toronto and Ottawa and, you know, all across the country, we're going to fail to meet the kind of higher ambitions that are possible here. If we think instead of the possibilities that the notion of a gathering place, a meeting place for people from different places, the possibilities that that raises. It seems to me that we have an opportunity here to provide a performing arts center in addition to, you know, a convention center. It seems to me that we have opportunities to provide gallery space in a way that we never may have had before. We have to invent a new definition of what it is a convention center is about. And I think that can only happen in that kind of open process that I was suggesting before. And in terms of design, it seems to me that we can't end up with something that's of second rate, and we can't justify what it is that we're doing by saying this is the best east of Montreal. I'm tired of being the best east of Montreal. We want to be the best in the world. We have to raise ambitions in this city about what it is that we want. And the level of design in this needs to be raised to a whole new level. Now, my challenge is, you know, I think we need the right process. I think we need work on the program in order for that to happen. And I think we need much more kind of design input to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris Hornberger. I'm a management consultant here, and I've had the privilege of working with Trade Center in the past. So I have a little bit of insight into what their business is all about and what the convention business is all about. So first of all, I have a question for all of you. How many of you think this is a great city? So the majority of folks here think this is a great city. So if this is a great city, why would we not think that this needs a great convention center? There is no other business that brings people together from around the world than convention centers. And I can tell you that TCL has done a stellar job with what they've got. It is a dated center that is competing with every other convention center in the world. And if we want to be a great city, we need a great convention center. And this is our opportunity to do it. So I have just returned from 3 magnificent weeks in Europe, where I've traveled through some of the greatest cities in the world, with some of the greatest convention centers in the world, and some of the best new and old architecture that I've seen. So I have only one request, and that is that the architecture for this center be something that is outstanding, that is state-of-the-art, that is stellar, and that the building makes us proud of being members of a great city. Thank you.
Welcome to Halifax. My name is Don Gardner. I've been in the commercial real estate business now for about 35 plus years. I specialize in commercial development. I travel extensively internationally. I'm leaving for Europe for my extended 2 weeks touring around business and convention centers in the 4 countries in Europe. The Nova Centre, in my mind, is an opportunity for the city of Halifax, the province of Nova Scotia, and Canada as well, to have a beautiful, beautiful spot that we live here in Halifax. Then we can combine that with a Nova Centre design that's going to be where the public input is here. And I really want to congratulate the people that are invited here tonight to speak out, because it's all part of what we're all about. This is going to be our Nova Centre, really. And I think we all get behind it and support it. I certainly do, because I know from the business standpoint, if you have an iconic convention center, it does attract more people coming in. They look for business opportunities, as you mentioned with the Bank of Nova Scotia building. I know that corner very well. People look for opportunities, and there's going to be some spin-offs for a lot of Nova Scotians. It's also going to give us an opportunity to keep our young people at home here in Nova Scotia. So I think it's a great opportunity. I want to congratulate the developer, who's an entrepreneur like myself. Mr. Ramey, you deserve to be congratulated for taking this on, sir. All the best to you. Thank you very much.
Do we have another number 7? 8? Number 9? Great.
My name is Kate Watson. I guess I didn't come here tonight expecting such a love-in. My concern is I think we might need to call this place the Shangri-La Center. When I hear people talking about it, like I feel like this piece of property is so much bigger than the thing I see there. We're going to have after-school programs and convention centers that are world-class and restaurants and so on. So I guess I'm really needing to come later in the process and see more about these giant visions. And I guess another concern I have is we're so excited right now, and I think it was you that was talking about the weather vane, and so I'm projecting 20 years from now, are we going to be saying, you know, what are we going to build now? Like, how do we make a building that is going to stand the test of time and is going to meet everyone's needs? And we also need to talk later about how there's no public money going into this, because that's certainly not what I understand. And I want to know that having this wonderful, fabulous thing that's going to meet everybody's needs isn't going to be a financial drain on our city 20 years from now as well. So that's all I have to say.
My name is Bob Shaw, and I'm an active community volunteer. Frank, you didn't introduce yourself earlier. That would have lent some credibility to your comments. Frank, I'm not sure I'm on the same page with you with regards to design by public consultation, but I think that there's a happy middle ground that the developer and all of us in this room should strive to achieve. I'm grateful that we have a process like this. Thank you, Sarah and Tim, for facilitating this. It's, you know, clearly an indication of what a great community that we live in. I think the developer is certainly looking for some specifics. One of the projects that I'm currently active in is turning the old Queen Elizabeth High School site into an urban garden. So obviously I'd like to see as much green and environmentally sensitive design integrated into the new complex. And I'm a proud Haligonian. I want to see as much reflection of our culture and our history in the face of the building and in the context of the design. Like Andre, I want to see a cultural sensitivity that reflects our heritage and our past as well. And to Mary's comments, you know, one of my prouder moments was being on the executive management team of what was probably Halifax's last largest construction undertaking, and that was the building of a $100 million casino complex. And whether or not you're a fan of casinos, it was certainly reflective of a progressive move for the city. It created a window of optimism and, in the eyes of many people, hope for the future. And I returned to Toronto to find a city that was far more vibrant at that time than it is today. So I would echo Brooks's words too, that we need to create an air of optimism. We need to create an opportunity to embrace each other's ideas and find middle ground. And in the process, to take pride in an air of optimism for the opportunity that we have in front of us. But, you know, listening to each other's opinions is certainly part of that formula. Thank you.
So let's do another round. Again, raise your hand if you'd like to speak, and our runners will come around and bring numbers.
Can I suggest actually like a quick change in process, ST, Sarah? So just before we go into the second round, because we're doing good on time, we don't have to rush. I'd just like to take 2 minutes just to turn to the person next to you. Just take 2 minutes, turn to the person next to you, and just have a quick conference with them. Like, what's coming up for you so far? What are you experiencing here? So just stop for a minute, absorb it, and we'll give you 2-3 minutes, turn to the person next to you. What's coming up for you here? What's your experience in this room? Okay, just to do that, and we'll call you back in a few minutes. Hello. How you doing? So please bring your conversation towards an end, just so we can get not to shut you off completely, but just to bring it back a little. Great. Awesome. So thank you very much. Good to have you back. We're not going to, we had a little debate among our team here about whether we would go around and hear from people about what you had in your conversations, and we decided not to. So the purpose of that was just to give you a space to just deepen a little bit into what your experience is in that room. So if you did want to step up and speak, you could do that and perhaps integrate some of your experience as you step up to the mic. So although we're limiting it 3 minutes, I hope that gave you a bit of a chance to sink in. Thank you for the invitation for that earlier. Great, so I'm going to pass over to Sarah, who's going to bring us into the next round of speakers. Thank you.
Again, where are you at now in this moment? And whoever would like to speak, please again raise your hand, and the runners will come around. We may be not getting 10 every time, but we may still get to 30. So it's kind of like a doctor's office. If number 3 is not there, number 4 is not there, then number 5 will come. Yeah.
Pardon the high-rise building here. As number 1, I get to go first, so thank you very much, and thank you very much for this event, for this process, for this opportunity. I, for one, appreciate it very, very much. By way of context, my name is Travers Milo. I am part of the organizing board of directors and volunteer committee and core for HalCon, which is a now annual science fiction, fantasy, anime, gaming convention here in Halifax at the Trade Center, having outgrown the Lord Nelson in 2010 and actually having outgrown the space we were given at the Trade Center in 2011. So we're now booking more space, and in the planning of booking more space and ways to fill it for 2012. I, for one, at the very least, am jumping up and down inside about the prospect of a Nova Center, both the building and the anticipation and the wishes for what Halifax is and what it could be and what it should be. I am absolutely jumping up and down inside. I am almost right in between Mr. Connors and actually our first speaker tonight in my mix of jumping up and down inside and wanting to give a bit of sober second thought to the good of the city and everyone in it. I love that you were the first speaker to speak on serving the public good in all of its meanings of the word and phrase and concept and desire for Halifax and beyond, of course. And I simply believe that a newer convention center could do all of that and more, not just by its physical being, but by the vision and imagination and creativity and desire behind it. And I think that this process is another brilliant first step in that. I do have a bit of sober second thought, as this gentleman here pointed out, where it starts out as an open process, discussion, atmosphere. Where does it start to narrow? And of course, speaking to someone here just a minute ago, where does the line get drawn between public consultation and closed room, here's what's going to happen, yes, we know you people have said everything and you sound so great, but here's what's going to happen. And I, for one, am certainly with you to keep this kind of atmosphere and opportunity open for this kind of discussion. But on the whole, I am absolutely ready for something like this to open up Halifax and to open up possibilities for Halifax now and down the road. Thank you.
Four.
I didn't plan on speaking. I was watching this at home and decided to bite down because I wanted to be here. I'm really happy that we're having this engagement process. I don't hate the convention center. I think that if I did, it wouldn't properly express my faith in the community in Halifax here. The thought that a convention center could ruin it, I think, is sad. That said, I'm not a vocal proponent of the convention center. I think that, for me, I think first of the act of convening. I think that some convention centers can do that. I know that I can't name a convention center that made me fall in love with a city. Not that that hasn't happened for somebody, but it hasn't happened for me yet. I just got back from Manitoba. The Fringe Festival was happening there. It happens over hundreds of venues. I think that there's nothing more beautiful than having to negotiate that part of your society to figure out how you're going to hold a big event, and you don't have to build one warehouse for it. There's a million things I could say. I am really thankful that we have engagement processes ongoing right now. I'm happy that we have a team of people that wants to see this happen. But I think that we could, if we opened our minds for a second, imagine a much better, much more inclusive way of getting input, and I think that it could happen a lot sooner. You know, people often will talk about choosing the paint on the walls or the window dressings, and you know, I haven't been much a part of the convention center discussion because it was a convention center discussion. It wasn't that spot in our downtown that could be anything if we dreamed it. So I'm still dreaming. I'm going to be here for probably the rest of my life. Whoever wants to dream, let's do that. And I really hope that whatever gets built in that center, be it convention center or something else, is something that will draw people here, and for all the right reasons, not all of which are economic. There are a lot of things that draw people to a place, and I'll let you think about that. Thank you.
Five, 6, 5.
I suppose somebody has to rain on this parade. I'm Beverly Miller, and first of all, I'm confused. I can't believe all the things that this project is going to do for us. And I'm very glad that the convener here has admitted that there is considerable opposition to this. Last Monday, in his column, Stephen Kimber identified what he called a ragtag group, of which I'm a member, called the Coalition to Save the View. But he, in addition to calling us ragtag, he also said that we have done the only substantial research on this project. And what we have found is that there is, I don't care whether you're talking about the industry, whether you're talking about hotels, whether you're talking about alternative uses for the money, we could find nothing. And we will share this with anybody who wants it. You just see me after this, give me your email, I'll send you the whole package. Anyway, as a member of that ragtag group, I thought, well, I better get in here and have a word to say. I maintain that this negativity that everybody is talking about will turn out to be well-founded. What does this, there's a couple things that disturb me. First of all, there's been a couple of references to, well, down the road we'll see if this worked. I think maybe we should try to figure that out before we start. Secondly, I'm a little perplexed about how there's no government money involved in this, and it's entrepreneurial. This, is really concerning. So, as I said, if anybody wants to see me, I'll share all our research with you. There is very little that we could find that's positive about this project. And I would also like to add my comments to the concerns about this World Cafe format. For many of us who've participated in them, it's simply a whitewash. First of all, the people who are in favor of a project will dot every single table, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 of them, And as somebody said, you know, these results are written on these pieces of paper and little Post-it notes, and they disappear. And guess what? There's a conclusion reached. Is it the conclusion that everybody said they wanted? No, we don't know that. So basically, I think that you need to rethink that. Thank you.
6, 7.
Could you stand up? Yeah, thanks, mate.
All right, so we have another person from who was watching online, and let me find our start. Okay. All right, this is actually from one of the people online, but was actually sent to him, so he could actually put it out there. And it's from Brian Jones Valancourt, who's not the person who's posting this, but this is from Anthony Farrow. He said, who's Brian Jones Valancourt, who's candidate for District 5 Dartmouth Centre. We must make the centre available to everyone and benefit to our community as a whole. We must develop a plan that balances business needs and community needs. To provide a true benefit, we should consider how we can provide free arts, sports programming, or recreation programming. That's it.
Great, thank you. And Craig, how many people have been watching online?
Currently, we have about 25 to 30 people watching on a regular basis, and we have had about 125 people, or different URLs, different computers log in.
Great, thank you. Do we have a number 7, a number 8? Number 9?
Going off the amount of people that watch online, I know a lot of people listen to Tim tweeting. I'm a big follower of Tim's tweeting over there on his computer. Might not be always the most, I don't know. Anyways, my name is Duncan Whitcomb. I'm a student at Dalhousie University, urban planning, so it's a little hard to get up here with our new director in some ways, no offense, Mr. Fillmore. I come here today, much like some of the other young people, I guess, I really support this project. 3 minutes is really not enough, and my mind's a whole jumble of things I guess I want to say. I think the most important thing is, just based on the site, this has to be a really stunning architectural feature, and the way the site is laid out, it creates emphasis on just architectural design and creativity. I've been to a fair amount of these conferences, or these little love-ins, and I'm really happy to see that this one's very positive. I've been to enough that so many have been bashes and bashes and bashes, and so to come here and feel the love for a change, it's really nice. It's also really nice to see Mr. Ramey in the crowd, and he's taking notes and actually listening. That's not something I see very much amongst developers who I've followed. Yeah, I really don't have that much to say, except I stand before you as a younger person in the community with an interest and who supports this project, and that's really it. I don't think there's enough detail out there to get into the nitty-gritty of the design or anything, but I'm really happy to see there's a positive attitude going forward with this project, and I wish it the best. That's all I have to say.
My name is Rachel, and I'm involved with this public engagement process. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to say, but I'm sitting there and my heart's beating really fast. Like I should just get up there and spend 3 minutes. There's definitely something for me about appreciation for everyone who came out tonight. I've been watching the online dialogue that happens usually just on Facebook, and there's so many voices that are on there and they don't come out. There's actually kind of a little campaign against coming out to public engagement right now, which I just wanted to bring up and invite everyone to come and participate and to give the feedback when it's not working right for you. I think that's one of the most important things for me that could happen. I was in planning school as well, and really inspired by Frank and the work that he's done, and he opened my mind to the idea that public could actually even be engaged in their city. And over the past few years, I've seen it happen more and more, and I think we're learning, but it's still really new. It's a really hard thing to do, to bring opposing people together in a room and to actually be creative together. It's not easy for anybody in any situation, I think. So really grateful for whoever comes out and just like takes that step and tries. And I think public space, personally, public space is one of the things I think the city's missing, and it's such a beautiful, crucial thing in so many other cities to spark community, to start reweaving connections that are lost. You know, we see the Occupy movement pop up and all these people screaming around the world to be engaged. And so, I don't know, I feel in a way like it's not the best platform that we're offering, but it's pretty good in my mind, and it could be even better with some really helpful feedback. And ways that we can take those Post-it notes that we'll get at the gathering starting on Thursday when we actually start to dig into vision. It's like, how can we make that more visible? Like, really, ideas would be awesome, because it feels so new to me that this is even happening. This sort of, that invitation for those ideas, and then also the invitation for the people who are online watching or might watch this later to come out and bring your voice, because whether or not you believe it's a true opportunity, I guess you won't find out if you're sitting behind your screen all the time. And get used to coming out, because we're going to have public space. That's so good.
We have another person from online, and going by Halifax, Alberta guy. Again, verbatim says a couple of things. Parking access should be off-market. With the pedestrian mall concept on Grafton Street, this is an area that could be something like Fremont Street in Vegas, provided the light doesn't affect adjacent parcels. Agricola should be a focus for commercial retail units or restaurants to help encourage people to walk and interact there. A green roof would be helpful on the heat island issues that buildings create, but I want to make a comment regarding the World Cafe format. There we go, sorry. Engagement is about getting all different opinions in a room, not just those opposed to a project. A true representation about getting people who support, oppose, and aren't sure about the same table and compromising. It's not just being against something. I don't see anything else there. Okay?
And was there a 10? Okay, great. So do you want to? Okay. Let's just can we do one more round? And number one, do we have? Well, maybe we should just go until 9:55. Yeah? Okay, so go ahead. 8:55, sorry. It's not working exactly as we thought it would, and I think it might be just simpler if people want to just go to the mic for now, for the next time. So please, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Cameron Ells. Perhaps these comments are better placed on Thursday when it's more of a design gathering than this evening for just general thoughts. But I think in listening to some of the comments this evening, one message I'd like to convey back to the team that's behind this project is to encourage as much flexibility within the design as possible. There's been some comments this evening about how exciting it was when the Trade Center originally opened up, or the what used to be the original Sheraton hotel. But maybe in this case, and 20 years later, maybe it's not quite the same enthusiasm. But perhaps there are ways in what you're planning to do with your project, your land, your money, or your team's money, to have some flexibility in the design so that maybe at 15 or 25 or 35 years down the line, there's an easier capacity to rearrange whatever inside for new or different purposes as the community of interests evolve. I'm a little surprised at the number of people that are here this evening and, quite frankly, how positive many of the comments have been. And I wonder if that might also be a reflection of the channels used to get word out about this particular event. I've been away for a few weeks. I haven't been regularly reading my good copies of The Coast. Maybe it was put out there, maybe it wasn't, I'm not sure. But a greater distribution of the word on these follow-up events in this process might create that greater variety of messages at the microphone.
Good evening, folks. My name is Tom Martin. I'm a candidate for mayor in October. I was asked a few weeks ago what my opinion was on the new convention center. And my answer, in essence, was it could either be the best thing in the world that ever happened to our downtown, or it could be the worst absolute nightmare we could come across. We don't know. When we look at public opinions, we see polls in the Herald and different publications. We're pretty much 50-50 split. So there's going to be a lot of controversy. There's going to be a lot of people that disagree. My problem is what brought us to where we are today. The process. The process introduced by HRM, the process followed by HRM to bring us here tonight. We can do public consultation on the Oval. We can do public consultation on bike lanes. Why couldn't we do public consultation on this? That's the problem I have. As far as where we are today, this is where we are. This is going to happen. And as I said, it could very well be the greatest thing that ever happened to our downtown. And I think the gentleman who spoke a little while ago and back, who said he's never been to a city, Joe, where he fell in love with it because of the convention center. There's your challenge, buddy, right there. Thank you, folks.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dawn Sloan, the councillor for Downtown, District 12 for now. Candidate for District 8, which is great. I just wanted to talk about some of the things that have been happening in the downtown over the last 12 years. Downtown was a dirty word. No one wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted to do anything down there. And then all of a sudden we started HRM by design. People came out in droves, wanted to give their opinion. We talked about height, mass, scaling, walkability, wind studies, you name it, we talked about it. And it was worthwhile. It was worthwhile because it actually started a conversation that should have been started 20 years ago when the first ugly building was built in our downtown. And Andy knows where I'm going with this. Our standards have been so low for the architectural merits of a building in our downtown for so long that we have forgotten that we even have an architectural school here, that we have architects, that we had a standard that was beautiful. We saw lots of really nice buildings being torn down. We saw the immigration building that was down at the corner of Lower Water Street that had magnificent lions made out of sandstone, torn down. Replaced with what? a wonderful parking lot, which only government people can use. So how does that make our downtown, you know, the place that we want to be? When you are basically excluded from parking from a place that is basically owned by the government. That's why it's important that we are out here tonight, that you get your friends and family out and you say, enough ugly boxes, enough with the crappy looking buildings, let's make sure that this is done right. And I have full confidence it will, because if we have enough people saying, do it right, or we're not gonna like it, we have enough criticism around already. We don't need that. What we need to do is work together and actually talk about streetscaping. We've started that. We actually had a meeting with the Argyle Entertainment District about short-term, long-term, while this project is going forward. That shows initiative. That shows that we're trying to move forward. Whether you like it or not, something's going to be built there. What if it wasn't built there? What if we were stuck with an empty pit for another 20 years? How much criticism would we have from that? I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eli Gordon. I'm a software developer in town, and I know almost nothing about convention centers, especially this one. But I know my city, and I love my city dearly. And the longer I live here, I chose to live here. I'd lived in most provinces across Canada, and when I came to Nova Scotia, I knew it was my home. And the longer I'm here, I realize just the incredible place that we live in, how fortunate we are to be here, and how proud I am when people come from elsewhere and enjoy this place as well. When I speak to people I know who live elsewhere, and I say I live in Nova Scotia, they say, I came there for a convention, I came there for doing something, I came to a cottage. You're so fortunate to be there, I wish I could live there too. And so this convention center that's going to happen is going to be a gateway to people coming and enjoying our city. And so I hope it's one that they enjoy. We've been talking about making a space that our community can enjoy, but I also find it important that it's located in the heart of nightlife downtown. It's in the heart of downtown and where people are enjoying themselves and are out on the street. So I'm really excited that it's not only going to be a place for us to go into, but also a place for people from elsewhere to come out of and to integrate themselves into the wonderful place that our downtown is, and to be a spark that will, I guess, hopefully allow our downtown to become even more wonderful. So I really appreciate that this is happening tonight. And as has been mentioned, as far as I know, and I don't know anything, the government is done with this. They've approved it. So we're here tonight because the developers, I'm assuming, have invited us here tonight, and because they're interested in hearing what we're saying. Whether or not World Cafe is going to have every single person's input into the final design is up to the developer at this point. We're really in their living room, you know? They've invited us here, which I think is wonderful. And I think that the more, people have called this a love fest, but the more positive creativity we can all bring together, I think the more that the developers will be inspired to take our suggestions to heart and to keep making the space that this center is going to fill a loved part of downtown, and hopefully it'll be on a postcard. You know, I hope that this will be an iconic space that visitors to our city can enjoy, and they can go home and say, Halifax is a wonderful place to live in, it's a wonderful place to do business in, and maybe move here themselves. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Eli. Is there one last person who'd like to speak before we close the evening? Perfect.
Sure, why not? So I was taking notes. It's not a World Cafe harvest, but I just wanted to try and summarize as much as I can of what I heard coming out through the night. The way that I do that is I'm a poet, so I've tried to make it rhyme as much as possible, so maybe make it more interesting because it's a bit of an epic. It's the Beowulf of... Anyway, so just to maybe a little summary, just to remind us of the various different voices we've travelled through tonight. Here's what I've heard. I will not be deterred from translating the voice of community into poetry that is true to me. What do you have to say about the Nova Centre? Where are we at, Halifax? Any project of this scale should benefit public good. How can it shift and uplift the boarded up space downtown? Here's a sound from Europe all the way over here. It's clear that Halifax belongs to the young. The future has begun. Enough of the negativity. We need downtown design that will make it a fine place to live. Let's make this development positive, vibrant and art at the heart. Be awesome. Look at past, present and future that can adapt with the evolution of the computer. 80,000 people celebrating Mi'kmaq culture. Got to be proud like that about Halifax. I married Rachel because of her passion for community and engagement. It has given me a vent to be part and have an influence. Let's get after school into the heart of the city. I've seen the Metro Centre and Sheraton come here. Let's steer together, every man, woman and child, knowing we are building this hotel. Let's give tours. Can we get this excited about this project? Let's be direct. There's no government money. It's being done by an entrepreneur. That's how we'll all get further. Have to speak to the naysayers. Negativity has been ruling this city, turning people away. Can we sway our direction? What is our contribution for the positive evolution? This unease, this double block gets extra height. I have a suggestion that I'd like to mention. Can you reduce the height of the towers? That would be fine for it actually to fit HRM by design. This needs windows and accessibility to be true to me. This building and industry is livelihood to me. I'm online and I love this city. Build sustainability. Let's get state of the art and make sure that those without deep pockets can take part. GHP, we like it surely, but personally want to feel like we're walking among giants. Halifax is growing, showing it's a place for young professionals. I love these signals of change. We got to build a good one to be proud of, to be loud of. We have to point to this building and say we did it right. Make it a sight we enjoy. We must deploy symbols of progression. I've made it work by integrating people's vision to overcome division. We've got to listen. That is what overcomes criticism. 3 minutes avoids depth and breadth. We must raise the level of ambition with more collaboration to have possibility that we haven't yet seen. Develop a collaborative process. This one only has small windows to interact. We must invent what a convention centre is meant to be. No more being the best east of Montreal. Hear my call, I will not stall, even when the mic stops. More design input, please. The majority thinks this is a great city. We need a great convention centre. One request, let the architecture be the best. This is an opportunity for this city to keep our young people at home. The seeds of the future are being sown, and this is too much of a love-in. What is this Shangri-La? We're all just stretching too far. How to make a building that stands the test of time, that isn't a financial drain. Let's make it green, culture and history to be seen, building optimism, a vision. I come from Halcon, where we need more space. I'm jumping up and down inside. I can't hide my sober second thought. This ought to serve the public. What happens behind closed doors? Where do decisions really get made? Of that, I'm fundamentally afraid. I'm watching at home. It made me get on my bike and come down. What is a way to gather greater input? I haven't even read this through since I wrote it, even though now I've spoken it. What's that spot that I got to dream? And here I am. I'm sorry to be the one raining on the parade. There is considerable opposition. We have the research. Negativity is well-founded. It's grounded in reality. I cannot find the positive, especially with the World Cafe whitewash. I want to give that a kibosh. Rethink that. It's not trustworthy. That's a fact. got to be available to community as a whole. That's the goal. Stunning architecture, please. I'm at ease with the loving, better than the hate. Positive attitudes is great. Appreciation to all who come out. Give feedback when it's not working for you. Let's be true. It's new to bring opposing views together, to be creative together. We are cleverer together. We are going to have public space, and that's good. Pedestrian mole, parking, got to get all opinions in the room and not just zoom on opposing views. We all choose if we engage or not, but if we don't engage, we won't influence what we've got. How can I get a greater voice distribution? Greater invitation is the key. This is full of controversy. The process that got us here today is the problem that I have. This is happening either way. What if people come here and choose to stay? Our standards of architecture have been so low. The sandstone lions had to go. Enough ugly boxes. Let's make sure it's done right. Fight for what we want to see in the heart of our city. And I love my city dearly. We are fortunate to be here. This is a gateway, a ploy for others to enjoy Nova Scotia, for us to go in and for visitors to come out of. An iconic space on a postcard. It can't be that hard. There you go.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Thank you, everyone who spoke and shared your views with us. Please come on Thursday night. It's going to be also from 7 to 9 at
the Seaport, Pier 20.
Seaport, Pier 21.
Please bring friends. Please bring family. Yep, it's on the website at Buildyourcentre.ca. And it was in the Chronicle Herald on Saturday. And we're regularly talking to radio, so we're doing our best to get the word out.
There's postcards by the front of the room as well that have.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, so it's up on the website, Buildyourcentre.ca. You can scroll down and it's right there. You can click on it.
This Thursday, we're talking about the vision and the principles of the building, which will inform the look and feel.
It's going to inform the overall look and feel of the building.
Right. Yeah. And also, if anyone is tweeting out there, the hashtags that people are using are hashtag Nova Center and Build Your Center. Just participate online. There's a comment section on the website as well, so we want to hear as many views as possible.
Good. Pavilion 20, I just got corrected for the camera. Pavilion 20 on Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. It would be wonderful to have as many people as there as possible. The more people we get, the more wisdom we get in the room to be able to influence this building going in downtown. Thank you very much for your time and effort tonight. See you Thursday.